Let's build a multiplayer Sims-like experience with the React Fiber and socket.io. Let's discover how to enable WebSocket into our three.js project. In this first episode, we will learn how to communicate between a server and multiple clients by creating a simple character movement. In the next episodes, we will add items to our scene and interact with, as well as a character customizer. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in this project. As usual, let's start by getting the starter pack repository on my GitHub account, code, copy, then in a terminal, git clone the repository address, and I will name the folder direction to client because we will create a server folder after. Now we can go into it, cd client, yarn, and yarn dev. Let's try to open the URL. Now you should see this cube and be able to rotate around. We'll be using the 3D model from Quaternius in Polypizza, animated woman. You can hit download and download GLB. In your project, go to Client, Public, create a new folder, name it Models. Then drag and drop your model into. Now we can run npx gltf jsx, public, models, animated woman. Then -o to say the output file, so source, components, and animated woman. We will keep the name of the model, and -r, public to say the root directory where our files are located. Hit enter. We can restart our server and look at what it did. It generated a new component named animated woman with everything that the model contains. It will be easy for us to use it. By default, it named it model, but I prefer to name it directly animated woman. And we're ready to use it. Let's go to experience. Let's replace our cube with the animated woman. Let's import it and use it. If we look at what we have many issues. The camera position is wrong and we have no light, so it appears black. For the light, we can use the environment component from Drei with the preset sunset and also add an ambient light for more lights with a low intensity. For the camera position, we go into app, and on the camera settings here, we can put 8, 8, and 8. Now we have a view closer to what the Sims are. Let's animate the animated woman as it comes with animation. Let's look at what animation we have by doing a console log actions. Now in the console, we can see an object with all the different animations. So it starts with character armature, we have idle, and we have walk. We'll be using those two ones. Under use animation, we can remove our log and define a state with animation and set animation to set our animation value. So by default, we will put the idle one. Now we need to play our animation inside a use effect that will be triggered when the animation change. So here we set animation in the array. We will do actions of animation dot reset, then we fade in and we play it. And what we will return is a function to stop the current animation. So action of animation and fade out. Now we can see on our character that it is idle. It's not very visible. Let's try another one. Let's change it to run. Now we can see our character is running. Okay, let's undo it and set idle. Then we will define the props that are available on our woman. We don't want to have it this way. We will use an object and destructurate props and add other properties here. Let's say we want to change the color of the hair. Hair color is equal to green. Then the top color will be pink and bottom color will be brown. The reason I'm doing this for the props is because now I can set default value, so I don't need to define them in the experience. But also if I do control space, my code editor knows that there are those props available, even if we are not using TypeScript. Now let's apply those colors on the material. We have hair blonde, so here we need to set the hair color. Let's create a mesh tender material with a color equal to the hair color and close skinned mesh. Then maybe it was over body, it's white and skin. Okay, this one is for the top. So we'll use another material with top color. And the legs here. So it's at the bottom, the pants. And bottom color. Okay. Now our character correctly had the colors we set. Let's try to add another character next to it. It's what we will want to do online. We go back to experience, add another animated woman, set the position X to 1, and let's change the hair color. Let's say red, top color to blue. Okay, so we have two weird things happening, those artifacts, but also our character has disappeared from here. The thing is, when we are using skinned mesh, by default, it's reusing it instead of duplicating it. So we need to clone it to have both available at the same time. Let me tell you how I discovered it. I had an issue as soon as I was using multiple skin mesh. So I looked into the Discord of Drei library and saw people speaking about it. And I saw this example that show how to do it by cloning the mesh using skeleton utils and use graph. We will exactly use the same here. Let's go to animated woman. Here they're not using those nodes, they're using scene instead. Then we can paste what we did. It's a use memo, it's cloning the scene, and then it's creating the nodes with use graph. But we don't have skeleton utils, it's from another library. We need to add yarn add 3 stdlib. Okay, restart the development server. And now we can import skeleton utils. Now no more artifacts and we have our two characters visible on screen. We can create more. Just for making it look a bit better, not excellent, but better. Let's add some contact shadows with a blur of 2. Now we can see they are on the floor. Now time to add the networking part with socket.io. You can go to the documentation and read a bit about it if you want to go further than this tutorial. But what it does basically is enabling a fast connection using WebSockets between a server and multiple clients. Let's create our server code. So it will be in a separate folder than the client one. Go to the root directory of your project, create a folder named server and go to it. Maybe we can have one terminal in the client and another one in the server. We will add socket.io library, yarn add socket.io. It will automatically generate a package.json file. Server, okay, so it has socket.io. The code of our server, we want to make it in index.js. What we need to do is we import server from socket.io. Then we will create IO, it will be a server. So server. To be able to use it with localhost, we will need to add cores. We just need to set the origin to be the client origin. So it's localhost and the port. So I think it's 5173. To be sure, you can look at the client, run yarn dev, and here you can see the URL. And then you will do io.listen and you set a port, either 3000, but I often use it for another project I'm working on, so I will set 3001. Okay, now we have our server. We can say on connection event, we will have a socket. It's between us, the server, and a client. We can close it, and inside we will add some listener to what is happening. When we are inside those brackets, it means someone connected. User connected. Then we can add events on what is happening. The first one we want to do is socket.on and disconnect. We will just say user disconnected. We will also do something else. It will be socket.emit to send a message to this socket, so it will be only the client that connected. We would just say hello. We can add parameters here and as many as we want, but we won't. Okay, now we want to run our server to see if we did everything correctly. So we will need to add yarn add -d, uppercase D, and nodemon. So every time we will save, it will restart the server. Now in our package.json of the server, we will add scripts. We will say dev. It will be nodemon of index.js. And because we are using some imports, we will need to say the type is module. Okay, now let's try yarn dev. And it says it's starting the server. We will see if it works. Now let's go back to the client. We will need to add socket.io-client. Okay, we can restart our server and hide the terminal. Now let's go back to our client and we will create a new component named socketmanager.jsx. I'm also experimenting, so maybe it's not the best solution right now, but maybe I will change it in the future. We will see. So we'll have export const socket manager, and on top of it, we will create our socket. So it will be export const socket is equal to IO. So IO should be from socket.io client, and we need to pass the URL here. So it's localhost and 3001. Now in our socket manager, we will use a use effect and we will play with our socket to monitor events. We can create a function on connect. We'll say connected. Also on disconnect, disconnected. And also on the server, what did we say? Index. A hello event. So we will add a listener for hello. Function on hello. Console log hello. Okay. Now we will do socket.onConnect and we will bind each event to the right function. Disconnect and hello. And now we can return a function that will unbind all those events. So socket.off, the name and the function. We save, we go to the app directly. Let's add it next to our canvas. Socket manager. If we reload here, we can see connected and hello, and we can see user connected and disconnected multiple times because I did it multiple times. So far we have the connection between the client and the server, but now we need to add some logic to integrate those network with our UI. Let's go to our server here and we will create const characters. It will be an array of character. Every time someone will log in, we will add it to characters. Of course, it's a very simple example. You might need to create rooms and do more stuff, but here we want to go straightforward. Let's go to connection. It's when someone joins the server. What we want to do is to push into character the new user that joined. ID, it will be the socket ID, so we know who it is. Then we will add some information. For example, the position. And we will call a function to generate a random position. We will create it just after. We will also generate random hair color and clothes. So hair, it will be hair color, generate random hex color, same for top and bottom. Now we can go over it, const generate random position. It will return, I want an array, not an object. It will be math.random multiply by 3, make it small. The y-axis we want to set to 0. And on the z-axis also 3. Okay. Now generate random hex color. It does something I would never be able to write myself. And okay. Now what it does, it generated the new character into the characters array, but we need to notify everyone that there is this new character. The socket.io explains how it works. You can broadcast events to all connected clients. It's what we want to do. So it's on io.emit and then your parameters. But you can also send an event to everyone excepted the one that logged in. To do so, you use socket.broadcast instead of io.emit. And else what we did previously is socket.emit. So socket.emit is only to the socket connection, so this client. What we need to do is io.emit. We'll say characters and send the characters array. As it's pretty simple, let's also add the on disconnect. It will be character.splice. We find the index of the character and then we remove it. Once we removed it, we need to notify everyone that is remaining on the server that there is a new list. So we emit the new list of characters. Let's see if we didn't break everything. Go to socket manager. We add a new function on characters, and we will log the characters. So on characters, let's name it value. We will use a state later for characters. So it will be a value socket on characters, and don't forget to unbind it after. Now if we reload, we have the connected hello and characters. We can see it's an array containing currently only one. We see two because it's manually fed yet. We have the color, the ID, and the position. Let's try to add another tab. When I open this tab, we have a new event on the first one. With the new list of character, there are the two ones. You can see I made something agnostic. I don't know, me as a user, what character am I, but I don't care currently. Maybe later I will need to know. Now that we have our characters list, let's try to display them on screen. To have a simple state management system, I will add the Jotai library. Oh, sorry, it's not the server, it's the client. Yarn add Jotai. I can restart the dev server and hide it. I will create here a characters atom that will be an array. So it will be like a state, a global state available everywhere. Now in socket manager, we can do characters, and set character will be use atom of characters atom. We won't use characters, so we can remove it. We also need to import it. I don't know why the auto-completion doesn't work. So use atom and atom. And now inside our events, we will say set characters to value. We now have inside the characters here, this state, the characters from the server. Now we can go to our experience, use the atom also here. So it will be const characters is equal to use atom of characters atom. We need to import it because it's in socket manager. And instead of having it here this way, we will do a characters.map. And for every character, we will render an animated woman. The key will be character.id. For the position, we will say character.position. And also hair color, it will be character.hair color. Same for top and same for bottom. Okay, now we need to add the parentheses here and to remove the two existing animated women. If I have one tab, I see this character here. If I open another tab, we can see we have two characters. If I reload, I have an issue, but it looks it's based on the animation. So let's fix it. Go to animated woman. It's when we fade it out. Sometimes we have no more the actions. So we can add a question mark here. Now, if we look, we can reload. It will generate a new character at a new random position. And on both screens, we will have the correct values. Let's try to add another tab, maybe here. And now we have 3 characters. Of course, we can add more and more. And when we remove a tab, the character disappears. We are almost good. Let's add that when we click on somewhere, our character moves toward that direction. In our experience, let's add a floor. It will be a plain geometry. The size will be 10 by 10. And we will add a mesh standard material that we will say to F0, F0, F0. So it's a light gray. We also need to rotate it over the x-axis and to position it a bit below the contact shadow. So position Y will be -0.01. Rotation here. Okay, we now have a floor. We want that when we click somewhere, we will send an event to say, I want to move to that position. We can do it simply on click. We'll have an event. We will do socket.emit. We will call the function move. And the parameters, we will do e.point, point.x. We want to stay at 0 every time, so we keep 0. And e.point.z. We can also add some events on the mesh to know that we can click, that we are hovering it and that it is clickable. Let's add on pointer enter, set on floor true, and on pointer leave, set on floor false. Let's add this state. We need to import it, and we will use cursor to say, okay, we are hovering it. Now when we are hovering the floor, we can see we have a pointer. When it's out, our pointer is normal. And when we click, nothing happened because we need to handle those events. Go back to the server here, and we will add a new event, socket.onMove. We now have the position parameter here, and we will need to add our logic. We need to find our character with characters.find based on the ID, socket ID. Then we update the character position, and we emit the new list of updated characters position. It's not the cleanest way to do it because we are sending all the characters at once for just a small event, but it's what we are going to do for simplicity purpose. Now, if we try it, when we click, our character move to where we click. Currently, it's teleporting to the position, but we can update it to make a walk animation toward that direction. First thing to make our life easier is to go back to experience, and instead of using character.position, which is an array, we will transform it to a 3 vector, 3.vector 3 of character position 0 also and 2. Okay, we can use the position 1, but it will always be 0, 2. Okay, we also need to import 3, import 3 at 3. So it will be easier for us to already have a vector 3. Now in our animated woman, we will change the way our position work. So we will go maybe on top here. We will say const position is equal to use memo, and it will be props.position. And we want it to happen just the first time we init it, we want to have the initial position. So it will be this position. And instead of applying it from here, the props, we will override it here by doing position is equal to position. Now, when we click, our character doesn't move. We need to add that logic to go to that new position. We can do a use frame. Then we will check if our current position of the group, so the reference of the object, dot distance to the props position, which is updated by the network, is over 0.1. If it's true, we don't want to blur because it will smooth the animation. We want it to be linear and straightforward. We will create a direction vector by using our current position that we will clone, and we will subtract the real position we want to go to. We will normalize it to have a direction, and we will multiply a scalar by a speed. So it will be our movement speed. Let's define the movement speed here, for example. Let's put 0.032. Now we have our direction. We can go toward this direction by using sub on our current position. If we look at the result, when we click, they are sliding on the floor, but it's very linear and at the same pace. To make it better, we can say group.current.lookat and add the position we target. Now, when we click, they are facing the direction they are going to. And to make it realistic, we will just do set animation. We will make a run. And if we are not moving, we will set it back to idle. Now we click and our character are moving, but maybe it's a bit slow, the transition. Instead of half a second, let's say the fade 20 to 32. Let's try. Now it starts faster and it stops faster, so it's more realistic. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video. If it's the case, please hit the like button, as it really helps the channel grow and be more visible to our creative developer community. Don't forget to subscribe to not miss the next episodes. In the meantime, if you want to continue learning, you can watch this video tutorial here.